When you arrive at the mount, you become a child again. It's like Sleeping Beauty's castle for girls and an ancient fortress for boys.
There's the Mont Saint-Michel, but we also speak of a treasure chest when we talk about the bay that lies all around, because there's so much to see that you won't find in guidebooks, and that's what interests me more today.
From the natural environment to the buildings here, we have a really fragile living heritage that has to be handed on to future generations, but still has to be enjoyed by the whole world today. That's the huge challenge.
A massive granite stranded at sea, dominated by a huge abbey, built in honor of the Archangel Michael. From the 8th century, the Mont Saint-Michel has been an important site for Christians. But the surrounding bay is a natural wonder that's largely unknown. Sebastian is a local tour guide.
There's all the essential detail about the bay that you can find in books. And then there's all this other information which is part of popular culture. Information you get from talking to the old people here who tell you things that aren't written down anywhere.
Just like the pilgrims who came here in the Middle Ages, setting foot on the sand means getting away from the rest of the world. But first, you have to understand the science of the quicksands.
You won't die just by sinking into the quicksands of the Mont Saint-Michel Bay, okay? But if I was to sink up to here and the sea comes in, then it's more complicated. So it's like a yogurt straight from the fridge that you stir. The more I move, the more I sink. But if I pull a foot out, then I'm saved.
And the walk can continue. Sebastian's tour takes visitors off the beaten track to discover the hidden gems of the bay.
The visit needs to be lively. This place has a real soul, and you have to get as close to that as possible, I think. To feel the quicksand under your feet, to brush with danger. Sinking into the quicksand will be the thing they remember most about their trip this evening. For me, it has to be all about authenticity. We have so many artificial things around us nowadays. It's so easy to sit in front of a computer screen and see the world online. But if you haven't physically set foot somewhere and felt the wind in your face all afternoon, you're missing out on so much.
Back on solid ground, it's time to discover the unmissable Mont Saint-Michel, a cluster of medieval buildings that attracts more than 3.5 million visitors each year. Xavier is the manager of this site, a place that needs constant maintenance and restoration.
The Mont Saint-Michel is the center of lots of our attention regarding restoration because we're surrounded by the sea and are exposed to storms and tide. The fortifications here need to be reinforced, all the door frames, the stained glass windows, and the stone itself, which is regularly battered by winds full of salt and iodine.
Ever since the first tiny chapel was built here in the year 708, the Mont Saint-Michel hasn't stopped evolving.
It's a place that's been rebuilt several times, from the Roman abbey to the Gothic one. But it is above all a place that's been totally reinvented and restored. And today we're a listed heritage site by France's National Monuments Institute.
In these corridors, a simple turn of a key is enough to take you back in time.
The magic works thanks to these keys. Once you have unlocked a door or passageway, you're immediately plunged into another atmosphere.
For 25 years, the Mont Saint-Michel has fascinated François, a local historian.
There's one spot in the abbey that's considered to be the most mysterious, dare I say the most sacred. It's the Notre-Dame-sous-Terre church. It's easily missed. Very few people know that right behind this door sits the heart of the Mont Saint-Michel. It's the work of the first monks who were placed here by the Normans in 966. And legend has it that this 10th century church was the site of the very first church here, built by Saint Omer on the orders of the Archangel Saint Michael between 708 and 710.
Centuries later, the legend is still attracting tourists.
What's important is to make people dream, and this is a place that's made for that. When the first visitors, the pilgrims of the Middle Ages, arrived here, they thought that heaven lay in front of them. So I'm here to tempt today's visitors to dream as well.
And one of the best places to sell that dream is from the very top of the abbey.
Everything contrasts here between the crowds of people and the silence, between the quicksands and the constant strength of the mount. The two work together well.
Exposed to the rest of the world, the rock has long been a magnet for tourists and pilgrims alike.
During the Middle Ages, monks lived here. Then servants welcomed the pilgrims. And today, well, it's a huge tourist destination. There's consistency. The mount has stayed true to its purpose of being a place to welcome crowds of people.
It's to this mix of people that this living heritage has to be made understandable. So there are many cultural and educational challenges. And of course, we have a huge responsibility globally because we are, after all, the custodians of a World Heritage Site.